Hello and welcome to LG CHL PSN Hockey. This is Debrin hosting with T-Sibs, and we got special guest here, Savage Beast.
What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
Good to be here, be part of this show. I think I'm going to learn a lot about the CHL today. A lot more, at least, than I know right now, I can tell you that.
Right. First, I wanted to start off talking about preseason games. We had 4 teams go undefeated in the preseason. First, I'd like to talk about the Huskies. They had the best goal differential in the league at a +30 in 6 games. They had 38 goals and they gave up 8 goals.
Jesus.
Yeah, they had a 12-1 win over the Titans. And that game, the Huskies actually played 5 ECUs.
Oof.
Yeah, so I don't know if they're looking at any roster movements or anything in the near future, but they've definitely got some good ECUs, maybe some good trade bait or something for later on in the season. Next, I'd like to talk about the Vancouver Giants. They also went undefeated. Management team of Tyler Hayward, 7-7, and E-Girls Slater. Both names I don't recognize. I believe they're new owners this year. I'm not sure. Can you verify that, Savage?
I think they are. I'm pretty sure they are.
Okay. Also, we got Brandon Wheat Kings went 6-0. Sharp as 27. Their largest victory was 6-3 against a team with 4 ECUs. So, I mean, they were in some tough battles in the other 5 games, but that's not necessarily a bad thing for a 6-3 victory against a 4 ECU team. And then we got Mississauga Steelheads. They were the last unbeaten team at 6-0. That's with Jayhawk and OG Loki. And all of their wins were 1-goal games.
Nice, tight games.
Yeah, definitely. And it shows that they can finish also. And they only had 1 overtime win also. Some of the top goal scorers, point leaders, Shaggy 420-412. He had 26 points in 6 games. He had 15 goals and 11 assists, and he had a 5-1 record. And then we had Esther 19 with 25 points in 5 games. He had 15 goals and 10 assists, and he had a 4-1 record. We also got Mike K joining here. He's been the talk of the CHL, I believe. He had the highest contract this year in bidding at $7.75 million. Mike, you here?
Hi guys, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
What's going on?
So Mike, I just want to ask you a few questions about what you did for scouting. Give some guys some tips on what they need to do to show their face around the league.
I mean, I did a little bit of scouting. I signed up for quite a few CHL scouting games. I did a little bit of AHL scouting. I found a group that I like playing with in the CHL, and I did several more scout games with them. And I'm glad they ended up getting me, because I was the bid was pretty high. I was worried I was going to go to a team didn't know who was on it. Right.
Now, you said you did some AHL scouting. Are you happy that you came to the CHL now, or disappointed, or what are your feelings on that?
I'm happy I'm in the CHL. I mean, I kind of made the decision that I wanted to try out for the AHL, and nobody bid on me. So when I ended up back in the CHL with a good club that I scouted with, and they asked me to be an AGM, You know, at the end of last season, that's kind of where I was with the decision-making process. Do I want to try to move up in the AHL, or do I want to go up and try doing some management stuff in the CHL? And I made the decision to try out for the AHL, but that didn't work. So I'm happy where I'm at right now. I mean, this kind of worked out pretty good.
Right. So moving forward with your CHL, and you said you got AGM. Is this your first year as management then?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So what are your expectations of management and as your team?
Well, for management, really, it's just going to be a learning process for me. I mean, I've got a couple good guys. I got a good owner, a good GM, and I'm hoping to learn as much as I can from them for my first season here. Right. For the team, the expectations, I mean, there's a couple of really good teams out there. I think we might be above average. So I don't know what my expectations really should be for the team, but I'm hoping to make the playoffs.
For sure.
Make a good run, maybe not for the division title, but at least to be second best in the division.
Yeah, because you guys got Huskies in your division, right?
Yeah, and I guess they were 6-0 in the preseason with quite a good goal differential from what I heard.
Right. And you signed up as right D this season. Last season there was no position lock in the CHL. Now this season there is. How do you think that's going to work out for the season?
I like the fact that there's a position lock. I think it gives the guys who only want to play defense a better shot at playing more games. I think that's the way it should be. I think the league should move more and more towards more simulation. Right. Even possibly considering having player build locks. So if you're a defensive defenseman, that's all you play, or if you're a sniper, that's all you play.
Okay. Now, T-Sibs, you've been in the league quite some years.
Yeah, pretty long. Yeah, right from season 1, actually.
Right. How do you feel about having a player build?
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting idea. Let's be, if we want to try and be realistic, I think it's a great idea because, quite honestly, players are the build they are, right? In real life, they are what they are. If they're 5'7", or if they're 6'2", that's who they are. And I think I think it's a great idea if you want to simulate, as you guys have been talking about, to have it be more realistic. I think that's a natural move to make guys lock into that. I don't know how you enforce it within the league. Everyone would have to be, you have to look carefully at what everyone else is signing up for, what they're locked in, and then what they wind up doing in the game. How does that get audited? I know LG has that information, obviously, but they're going to have to run an audit and say, okay, did everybody play the build they were supposed to play? And if not, what's the ramifications if you don't? What's the penalty? So that all has to get worked out, and I'm sure it could happen. But the general idea I like a lot. I think it makes a lot of sense, and it's more realistic than what happens now.
Right. Now with the player build, now do you think that would be something? Obviously, you could change each season, but do you see that helping with bidding and even with the NHL draft?
Yeah, I think it would. I mean, I think it would give more players the opportunity to move up and showcase their talents in a specific role. But I don't know. I think it's something. It's an idea to throw out there to the community and see what kind of feedback they have too.
Right. Now, with these NHLers that have been playing, many seasons, how do you think their take's going to be on it?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, everybody's going to have their opinion.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that I'd love to see, and I guess you guys could tell me if this has actually happened or not. But I'd love to see it be up on the, LG site for vote, just to get an idea what people would want. If they thought it would make sense, maybe put a poll out there and say, here are your options. What do you people think? Because it's not something that's really readily discussed in LG, and I think it's something you guys are bringing up. It's the first I've ever heard anyone talk about it. And so I think it would be something that would be good for a general discussion.
Right. Maybe we could even start it in like a little off-season type thing, like with the World Juniors or something.
Yeah, I think it's certainly worth talking about and experimenting in something like that. I think it would be a great idea to do that.
Right. And me and Mike were talking earlier about this too. He brought up a good point about having ECUs, reliable ECUs. Mike, want to give that example?
Refresh my memory on that.
Where you had an ECU, say, play in two-way defense that you've played a game with.
Oh, sure. So with a position build locked in, if you have to go to somebody who's not your regular D partner or somebody you're not familiar with, and you've played once or twice with, only once or twice, and he's coming up as a two-way defenseman, and then all of a sudden he shows up as an offensive defenseman and completely changes his game plan and yours, it could have a negative impact on the team. I mean, It's something to look at for continuity. I know we're getting down to picking this apart, but I just think it adds a more realistic simulation to the game.
Right. Savage, what's your take on it?
To be honest, I don't know. I'd like it. I wouldn't mind it because I play as one build all the time.
Right. As most people, I assume, do. Yeah.
So really, if you think about it, it wouldn't really hurt the league. Really, you're already playing as one, maybe two builds tops. If you're jumping between more than two builds, chances are you really don't know what you want to do anyways in the first place.
Right. I think it would give management a little easier scheduling, maybe, or scouting. If they have one type of system that they want to run, they can go and scout those players, maybe.
Yeah, because some management, they like to play like a hitting sniper with this and that. They like to have three different builds on a line, or like a playmaker here. So really, if you think about it, if a management's going to go that deep in running their lines off of builds, yeah, it definitely would help a lot. That's for sure.
Right. Do you think it would make more work for management or less work?
I think it'd make a little bit more work because then you'd be thinking twice as hard, really. But it's I already lose sleep over this, literally. Like bidding night, I lost a lot of sleep those 2-3 nights, man. So like I'd be okay with that extra couple minutes, I think, and it's not a big deal really to me. I'd be okay with it.
Right. Mike, besides the Huskies and the Q, who else do you see being a top contender?
I really haven't been looking outside of our club. Being asked to be the AGM has really kind of had me stop looking outside of our club and really looking inside our club. I mean, 17 guys on the roster, 17 TCs, trying to get a look at everybody actually playing the game instead of just looking at their stats. That's taken up a lot of time. And I'm kind of just waiting for the competition to come to us. I'm not really worried about going out there and scouting it just yet.
Right. Savage, how about you in the WHL? You see any top contenders?
In the WHL this year, like I see a lot of new management. So like I haven't looked at a lot of the rosters yet, to be honest. But I know the Oil Kings, they're gonna have a good team. I played a couple drop-ins the other night, club games, and we played against the Flint Firebirds, and they look good out there. The last couple seasons, they weren't the hottest team, but they're looking pretty good out there. I don't know, maybe they might not be a top team, but I haven't checked out their entire roster yet. But they played solid as a team together that day.
Right.
I know, not to be biased, I'm actually really shocked. I think my Medicine Hat Tigers definitely have a pretty solid team. I think are a little bit of a sleeper right now. People are kind of not even checking up on us, which is good. I'm okay with that.
Right.
But them Huskies, they're the threat. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. Savage, what'd you do for? How'd you do your scouting games?
The first when I don't know, I say we scouted for maybe 4 days, and then after that we found a crazy group of guys that always kept showing up. We didn't get a lot of new faces because each team kept getting their own a handful of scouting guys that would sign up, and then you got the guys that sign up all over the place. But then we just stopped scouting. My owner Legits is he pulled off some of the craziest things I've ever seen. He actually did spreadsheets. He grabbed power rankings. He had pages upon pages of guys that have a chance to go to the AHL that don't have a chance. So he started eliminating certain names. He ended up with a spreadsheet of he did like points per game, goalies. He did goals against that. He did it all. He brought it down to pretty much some of the new faces you'd see in the CHL and the ones that may take a chance of going up and down, back and forth. But the scouting, we didn't scout too much. There's so many names out there. It was just too much to take in. So when it came to bidding, we went off his spreadsheets, and it was probably the best thing I've ever seen him do.
Okay. With that being said, so with the new guys, he would do spreadsheets of games that you guys played in scouting games? No,
he went off power rankings. He went off of pretty much the list of last year. He went off the rosters of the whole entire LG roster of last year and the power rankings, the top, like, I forget how many guys. He had literally, I think it was 6 or 7 pages of full.
Okay. So how do we get the new guys? How do you guys prepare for the CHL bidding and getting the new guys into a roster position?
Like guys that have never played the LG yet, that don't have stat?
Right.
For the preseason, that was the best thing. We tried to use as many of the ECUs as we could for preseason, tried to leave the roster on the side because we wanted to see what our TC guys had. And I just told you as we were starting this media chat, we were running a 6v6. We had 12 of our guys online. We were running them against each other. We tried to do TC versus roster,
right?
But we ended up just we split it up. We did half and halves, and the game went to overtime. The first one, the second one, the first one, I think it was like a 2-0 win for the one side. But we kind of run against each other. We run the clubs. We try to get the TCs in. As of right now, like I don't know if this sounds bad. We try to get the TCs in more than the roster players because we'd like to see them. A couple of them don't even have stats. They've never played.
Right.
We're trying to get them as much playing time as we can because we'd like to see what we have down in the depth side.
So do you guys prefer the drop-in where it's 6v6 drop-in pin, or do you guys create like 2 clubs or something, or how do you guys do that?
We prefer to do club because late at night you'll get a lot of the LG teams, whether it's AHL, CHL, there's even like Facebook team, all that stuff. Like all these random teams come on that are good. They play together a lot, so we get our chemistry usually on a club game. But the last couple of days we've been trying to run 6v6 with a pin, just because we can get 12 guys in, and then even me and Legits and Freak Show, we usually sit on the side sometimes if we have to, so we can let a full 12 roster TC players play. Right. And we share play the game. We watch it.
Okay. Now, with that, how do you guys do? Do you guys have like a certain individual on your team to set up TC scrimmage games, or is that pretty much just strictly management that sets that up?
We do. Like, we try to do it as a management. Sometimes the team comes together as a whole, and this team, I don't know how to explain it. This team is really good character-wise. They all come together. They love playing with each other. So they usually find each other. They'll send each other, like we'll hop on. We already have 3 of our guys playing with each other, which makes it a lot easier. You just got to fill 3 more spots, and you got 6 of your roster players.
Right.
They like to play with each other, which is really good. So really as a team, we do it more than anything. But more so we do it as management. We try. But if the other guys do it, that's awesome too.
Now, when other guys take that responsibility and role, does your team notice that? Does your management notice that? I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely. That's how we got our AGM, Freak Show. He was a GM last year, and I've known him for a bit. Great guy, great character, great player too as well. But what is it? We got him on our roster, and then I think it was the second day after bidding happened. He started putting games together on the side for us while me and the Jets were on our way home from work, and we knew right there and then he was willing to take pictures for stats in preseason. He already knew how to do it all. He was just right there. He knows it all because he's done it all.
Right. Yeah. And, it's always nice getting a former GM or former management on your roster for sure. Now, Mike, now you were playing goalie last season, correct?
Yeah, I played goalie for one season last year. I enjoy playing in the net.
Mm-hmm. How's that going to affect this season. I mean, did you scout for all 4 teams that bid on you?
Probably. I mean, one of them, I don't know who they were. So one of them may have been a team or a group of guys that I'd played with before.
Okay.
I still don't know who they are, but I did several scouting games at the CHL level and a couple at the AHL.
Okay. Now, are you looking at doing management next season as well? Would that affect your you wanting to go to the AHL?
It may. I mean, right now I'm enjoying it, but obviously it's only been a week. I only have 6 games of preseason experience helping these guys out.
Right.
But sure. I mean, if this is as much fun or if it's going to be enjoyable, then I'll probably like to stay in the CHL next season and continue to do it.
Okay. And T-Sibs, we were going through some of the rosters, and we've noticed quite a bit of veterans on TC rosters.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Certainly when the CHL was first started up, you would get a lot of players who were late signups, who were unknown, so they didn't make it to the NHL or AHL. Now, season 7, I think I've seen so many more guys that I've played with in the AHL that I know were in the A or the NHL, now playing in the CHL. Some of it for management reasons, but some of it just because I just think there's turnover in the league now, and I gotta say, I gotta ask you guys, especially if you're doing management in any way, shape, or form. How aware are you of the veterans that have a lot of experience, that have played well at the other levels, and for whatever reason are now available in the CHL? How well known are they, and how knowledgeable are you of them when it comes time to do bidding?
That's a great question. I mean, I've looked at RTCs, and I'm amazed, like you're saying, how many guys I have on our TC roster that have a lot of AHL experience, and some even have a game or two at the NHL level.
Right.
And they are on the TC roster, so I think they're going to get a look at as far as contributing to the team this season.
Savage, what's your take?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Yeah.
For me, last year, so when it comes to the veteran side, the guys that have played in the AHL and NHL, and last season, I only ended up becoming a GM because my original owner ended up quitting the night of preseason. So at that point, it was last year was a big fire sale for me. Like I was just kind of I didn't even know how to take pictures at first. So through the last season, I learned everything. It all got better. Made my trades, did all that, had fun. So this season, when it comes to checking out things like that, this is actually the first season I'm looking at the veterans. I've caught a couple names. Surprises me. I even have one on my list that he got bidded on. He got taken in the NHL, but then got sent to the A, got sent right down to us, and it shocked me. I got teams going crazy for him. Like, hey, why is he sitting there? And some of these guys are probably only sitting on a TC list right now because teams are still trying to figure out their contracts up in the roster side. It is. I'm at my max. I'm at $25 million on the salary cap, so it makes it a little bit harder to make the waiver. I'm scared to put somebody on a waiver. Somebody will take him because I know he's good. So I don't know. When it comes to the veterans, though, I don't know too many of them. I know a few of them, but they went up. And the ones that made it down into our side, I'm not too sure of them yet. I might find out the hard way when I have to play them.
Yeah,
I should do it more on the veteran side, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, look, it could be a double-edged sword. These could be guys who would just because there's more CHL talent that's going up. They just, enough seasons have gone by now where they're just not making the cut anymore, and it could be big benefits to your team. They could also be guys who are problems elsewhere, and so you got to be careful about what you're getting into if you decide to commit to some of these veterans. And I think just like any other level in the CHL, you've got to get some training camp games in and see what you have, not just talent-wise, but what their personality is too.
Exactly. Like, obviously nobody wants to see their team lose by 4, 5, 6 goals, but just say your team were and you got some guys on there, you kind of almost want to see how they react to a loss, whether it's by 1 goal, 4 goals, 10 goals, whether you always want to see the character you got on your team.
Sure.
So it's good that obviously nobody wants to lose, but when you do lose, it'd be nice to see it in a training camp game than it would be in a season, right? So I got probably some of the nicest personalities I could have had. Couldn't ask for better. For the veteran side, like you said, though, they could have just maybe not made the cut up in the NHL or the AHL. They're just down here now because a lot of the CHL guys, they went up there this season, and I'm surprised they were even in the CHL last season with how good they were.
Right.
So I don't know. It's a touchy subject, really.
Definitely.
It's a complicated subject too, because you don't know, some of these guys switch positions halfway through their career. I mean, they could have been playing left wing for 5 seasons, and now all of a sudden they're playing center. And that's why they're dropping down the ladder. I know that happened to me when I went from D to goalie last season. I dropped right down to the bottom.
Yeah, we've seen several bounce out of the net, and that makes it. I think that makes a lot of management folks more scared when someone's coming out of net and going to a position, unless someone knows and has played with them outside of LG and knows that they can play that position. It's really scary to go after somebody if you don't know if they can play it or not. And it's that's part of what makes guys drop a level without question. I've seen that more often than not. One of the guys in the CHL, Tyler Lokey, is playing right wing this season. He's on the Calgary roster, and but he's been a goalie the whole time, and he's been a hell of a goaltender in the AHL and NHL. So, guy changes position, he drops to the point where nobody in the other 2 leagues want to give him a chance. And so, to your point, yeah, that absolutely happens.
I think that also brings up a question, too, about possibly having continuity in all the leagues, NHL, AHL, and CHL, where you have the same position lock requirements in all 3 leagues. That could benefit players as well.
I agree there.
I absolutely think you should not be able to switch positions if you're under contract. I've seen 1 or 2 of those happen. I don't, somebody signs you for a position for multiple seasons, you should be forced to stay in that position. You should not be able to leave it. And I'm not sure why LG allows that, but I just think you're shortchanging the management who tried to lock you in for a couple of seasons because they felt like it was worth doing that because you play that position so well. And then if you switch, I just think it's unfair to management people to do that.
Yeah, I believe Brody was saying something about with multiple season contracts, right, you are not allowed to change position now. You were previous, but I believe that is in the works of being changed.
Yeah, it might be. I don't remember the actual instance in the AHL. I'd have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure I'd seen where somebody had changed, and they were under multi-year. It wasn't something that it wasn't that they just got a new contract. So, but I don't know. Maybe there was an out for that. I'm not sure why that was the case. But yeah, as long as that's covered, I mean, I think that's fair enough. Now, right, locking it in for multiple seasons once you sign up, that's another interesting point. You want to be realistic, but in a game like this, how realistic is it to lock somebody in for their entire career? Probably not realistic. Maybe a couple of seasons. I mean, I think it's worth talking about for sure.
Definitely, yeah.
I get it's a video game and all, but really, I guess when you put it this way, just say you're trying to make it big in real life. You only play one position from starting more likely to the end. Why not do it here, right? It's just as competitive. It's a video game. I get it. But you're here for the competitive side. So really, you should be switching. Like this year, goalie, next year, defense, next year, left wing, right wing, whatever. I like staying at one spot. I like to see it. See, like you said, it's easier for the management.
Yeah, and I think that's the argument to be made. And again, I wonder how many people would, I'm not sure the community would be crazy about it, but for the purists like myself and probably you guys as well, I'd have no problem seeing that happen.
Yeah, me too. Because just say I bid on a guy this year at left defense, and then next season he goes as a right wing. I could be like, hey man, you should have signed up as a defense. And like, nah, I don't know. Like, you're a good winger, but really you're a great defense. Now the management's stuck. I can't even bid on you. You just let it go.
Right. Is that something that you'd be able to talk to that individual about and make a mutual agreement, or are they just set on what they want to do for their own reasons?
I don't like to be the type of guy to tell somebody what to do, so I could always sit down and be, hey man, I'd love to see you there. Would you be willing? But I'd never be the one to want to push somebody to do something they want to be. If they want to go out and score goals, I could always have the talk. It's always nice to have the talk, and hopefully they listen. But if they don't, it's really all you can do, right?
Right. Me and Sibs were actually talking to him about this a little earlier. Is having, because I actually just switched from lefty to left wing this year, but that's because I had chemistry with a certain individual, and the owner or the GM realized that, and he made it work, compared to just going out and getting scouted with randoms.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'd like to see some commitment to the league before you get the right to be able to do certain things, like switch positions. You know, I think you play a couple of you know, it's almost like having a rookie contract, right? You know, you play a few seasons, you show some stability in the league, and then you get the ability to do different things. I want to see us start rewarding people for being, you know, good players, good teammates, good individuals in the community than just giving them all the rights in the world right off the bat, because I just think some of these guys don't deserve it, quite honestly.
Right. That makes sense.
Agreed.
And if we want it to be competitive, and get people to play by rules the right way and all that, you've got to be able to make them understand right away that there's a certain amount of responsibility that we expect. We're not asking you to turn over your lives to LG, but, you know, be responsible enough, be dependable, and I don't know. I'm an older guy, so I kind of look for that in the players. To me, I want talent, but I'm so much happier if the talent is not always the top tier, but I've got guys I can depend upon, and it's really hit or miss. I mean, you could play some drops, but it's almost like doing a job interview. You know, these guys can say all the right things in a couple of drop games, but all of a sudden they're on your team and they're total jerks. You know, what do you do about it then?
Right.
Yeah, that sometimes you get the guys that just want to play with a friend, right? You get all that stuff. So like you said, the whole getting the jerks, you never really see it till they get on your team, which kind of sucks.
Right. And how, as management, do you handle that? I mean, say you've bid on him, you know, he was real cool during scouting games, but then he comes here and he has some type of attitude, you know, and he's a good player. What do you do? I mean, do you risk your team or? Nope.
Last year I'm not the type to. I won't ban. I'm not like, you have to do full out the worst thing you could possibly do. We don't ban people. So like here in Medicine Hat, we try to take care of people. So last year we had a couple guys. Obviously, won't name names, but we had two guys. One wanted to play with a friend, and one was a certain position, and he thought if he went to another position, he could be the best thing in LG. So the one day, the one guy goes in the middle of the chat. He goes, "I'd like to play with my friend. Get back to me." An hour later, he starts freaking out. Didn't even give us a chance to do anything for him. So we said, "Please PM us. We'd like to talk to you. We don't want it in the middle of the team chat. It's bad cancer for the team. You don't want that." So we took him off to the side. By the end of it all, it didn't work. He lost his shit on us. He freaked out on us, and he was close to getting banned. So we ended up, not because we wanted to, but we did what we had to do. We gave him what he wanted. We sent him to the person he wanted to go to. We got what we wanted in return. But when it comes down to it, not every situation is going to end that good. Somebody's going to get banned. Somebody's going to get in trouble.
Right.
you try not to, like, I don't want to see people banned. You know, I understand you want to play with your friends, but really I'm the type of guy, I want to beat my friends if I play them. I want to kick their ass. That's my
absolutely.
like, yeah. I'm not gonna cry because you can't put me on my best friend's team, man. I'm gonna try to kick his ass and make him cry because we beat him. So I don't know. Is the attitude? You're on the other side of a microphone. No, if they're gonna listen to you, they're gonna listen to you. If they're not gonna listen to you, there's really not much you can do because they may be 1,000 miles away.
Right. Mike, what's your take on this?
Well, I'm still too new to this, but I mean, a good point that was just brought up was you got to take care of it internally. I mean, I don't know what the rules are, what power management has to what you can really do about a situation like one that you're describing, but you got to try to take care of it internally first, I think.
Right.
100%.
Definitely.
I mean, obviously you want the individual players to have a lot of room to grow and a lot of flexibility to make their own choices. But still, overall, you got to do what's right for the league. I mean, I like the idea of tying a position lock to a contract, but I think if a player is not under contract and he's going to sign up for a new season, he should have the right to pick whatever position he wants to play for that season.
Well, but even like myself and T-Siz are talking, compared to NHL 17 and 18. I mean, I've seen goalies, I've seen D-men that can't play 18 but were very good players on 17. So I mean, maybe we could even restrict it to the specific NHL that's out. For instance, maybe for 19, maybe for whatever reason you won't be a good D-man, but you're a good goalie. I think that there should be some leeway in the game that you're playing. But, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it's. I think we're at a point now with PSN where we've played enough seasons, we've got a decent amount of sample size to say what's worked for us, what hasn't worked for us, and I think Brody's kind of doing that now. And they're starting to revisit some things and looking at some of the things that you guys have already talked about. And you have to let it go for a few seasons and see how things pan out. Your Xbox League, isn't necessarily going to be the same as it is on PSN, although we're seeing a lot of guys cross over now. But, I think they had to let it ride for a while, and now they'll take a look at some things. They'll try and revisit and try and close the gaps of where they're seeing, people taking advantage of the system, what have you, just so that they can, maybe have a better chance of making it more fun for everybody. And again, try and rid the league of the types of issues that typically come up.
Savage, looking at the W, we've got. Well, what do you think about Lethbridge?
Lethbridge Hurricanes?
Yeah,
that'd be.
That's Reggie and Burglar.
Yeah. All right. A lot of the guys on here. I know a couple of the names. One of the guys, he's played with us a few times and like drops and stuff like that. Like a lot of the team, like I'm looking at their team as we speak, and I know 3 or 4 of the names. I'm sure a lot of them played LG before, but a lot of them are new names to me.
Okay. Yeah, I think they were a 5-1 preseason team.
Yeah, and then they had last season. They weren't the greatest team at all last season.
Right.
It's good to see teams step it up, though. That's for sure.
Definitely. What team do you think is going to struggle this season, just based off preseason? I know it's kind of hard to judge off preseason because you do have a lot of ECUs. So based on preseason and based on their roster currently, does one team, maybe 2 teams stick out to you?
For me, I don't know. It may be a lot tighter in the W this season. I know that. If I had to pick a team, honestly, I don't know if I could pick a team yet. I don't know if I could pick a team yet who I think would struggle.
Okay, so it's still too early to determine that.
Yeah, because a lot of the rosters, a lot of the teams' rosters, I haven't fully checked out yet, and a lot of them are probably going to change before the end of the night. Well,
Right.
Yeah, probably before the end of the night, and I don't know. It's I want to see everybody do good, but obviously you're going to catch like 5-6 teams slipping under 15 wins a year.
Right.
But I don't know. As of right now, I'm a little lost for words on what team I'd pick for that category yet.
Okay, and yeah, the Hurricanes, they were 5-0-1 in preseason, so they've definitely stepped it up this preseason at least. We'll have to see if that carries over into the regular season or not. But the Chiefs, they were 0-6.
Yeah, we played them one of our games.
What did you notice playing them? Were they where were they struggling?
If I had to say, they couldn't. Maybe I'd have to say defense. I'm looking at the stats from that game. Our time on attack was almost tripled theirs, and the shots they had shots though. They beat us in the shots. We only beat them 4-2. Don't get me wrong, but the game was a pretty outplayed game. Because I watch all of our games. If I'm not playing, I'm watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd have to say defense probably.
Okay.
They can get shots. Like they only had 358 time on attack. We had 819, but they still had 14 shots, and we only had 11.
Right.
It's I don't know. You hope they do better than 0-6, obviously, but like I said, there's going to be a couple teams slipping under that 15-20 win mark.
Well, right, and like I said, it looks like they had some ECUs playing that game as well.
Yeah, they did.
So preseason's hard to go by, but that's all we have right now. But I mean that's going to happen during the regular season too. So with you guys, do you guys make sure that your TCs are? I'll direct this to Mike. Do you make sure your TCs are readily available for every game?
That's a great question. We've been working on that all week in preseason, establishing, first of all, which ones on the TC roster are actually showing up on a regular basis, and then identifying what positions they are. So, come tonight or Monday night, we're ready to know who can step in if somebody has a problem.
Right.
That's a work. There's a lot of work involved in doing this.
Oh, but, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's a necessity. I mean, you have to know who the next man up is going to be in case you need somebody to step up.
Right, and definitely knowing who each player can play with. So like Savage was saying earlier, they switched it up. They made it 3 roster, 3 TC. That's great for chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
So have you guys been doing any research as in depth as that, or?
I haven't. I mean, this is just my first week at it. My X's and O's are still limited to really positions and making sure there's 1 or 2 forwards available as an ECU, and possibly 1 or 2 defensemen available as an ECU if needed. As far as working in the chemistry, I mean, realistically, we're still working on second and third line chemistry.
Right.
Well, that's why I say CHL management to me is the hardest by far. NHL pretty much, that ship runs itself. AHL, for the most part, does as well. And you have the added advantage of seeing what some of the guys in the CHL are doing. So if you need somebody, you've got people you can call up right away. You guys have one pool of players that, unless you're running TC games all the time, you don't know what you have down there. And it makes it incredibly tough to do what you guys do.
That's a great point because, I mean, it's a great sigh of relief when you've got 2 guys on your team and say they're both wingers. You got a left winger and a right winger, and they play together all the time, and they're on your team. You just look at them once and you go, okay, you guys are all set. Now I just need to figure out who your center is going to be or whatnot. And I'm sure that's a lot easier at this AHL and NHL level. But at the CHL level, a lot of these guys, are unknown. It's their first season or two, and it's difficult to work them in and get them the time to work themselves in and establish some chemistry with people instead of just having them play one game and then throwing in the towel because they might have had just one bad game. You have to give them more chances than just one.
Right. And you definitely got to play them on different lines as well.
You sure do. I mean, you got to work it all around. And that can be difficult in just 1 week's time because your regulars want to show up. They want to play. We haven't had the luxury of having too many 6-on-6s like Savage was saying. But, a lot of times we get 9 guys on, and then what do? Do you take your best 6 and you go challenge another club, or do you try to split up and go 5-on-5? So, I mean, there's a lot of challenges to this. Right.
Mike, have you had any AHL experience playing up there?
Yeah, very little. When I first started playing online, I played with a couple of different leagues, and I ended up coming back to here full time because I think this is the best structured league on the internet. And I did play a little bit of AHL, but not enough to really be able to compare the AHL to the CHL. I just know the CHL is fun, it's competitive, and it's got a lot of depth.
Do you notice, with your short time, did you notice any different types of strategies in the AHL compared to the CHL?
I think puck possession, I think you have, established, skilled players at the AHL level that can maintain puck possession in the offensive zone longer. So you see that type of style play. Mm-hmm. And the speed of the game, the overall speed of the game, I think is faster at the AHL level.
Okay. Savage, how about you? Have you had any AHL experience?
I've only ever played one game in the AHL. It was my first season in LG. It was near the end of the CHL year before the playoffs, and my AHL team needed somebody, so I hopped in. I've only played the one game, but the puck possession and the movement of the puck, the down low play, it's a lot. It's a lot more organized up there.
Okay. So with you guys having a AHL, I mean, it's minimal, but having AHL experience, does that give you guys any type of benefit bringing it back to your team?
Absolutely, for sure it does.
Do you guys want to try and change your guys' style of play in the CHL to play like the AHL, or are you guys noticing that you have to play like the CHL in the CHL?
Well, they're obviously for sure two different leagues, but when it comes to I wouldn't try to change anybody. We just try to kind of work on things. Like if you see the way they do the down low play instead of how would I explain it? The couple extra passes in the AHL and NHL, they do those couple extra passes. In the CHL, you see it well, you'll get those 2-3 passes, and then somebody goes for that saucer pass 15, 20 feet away. When you had somebody they go for the extra pretty. In the AHL and the NHL, they keep it pretty simple. Right. And it's just as pretty.
Right. T-Sibs, you got anything to add on that?
No, I would absolutely agree with what you guys just said. I think it's you play NHL, and if you play net and you play NHL, you should take a book with you, because you could sit back there and have no action forever and just watch your guys passing in the other zone for a good 5 minutes straight. It can be a little bit of a snore fest. But it's that way because guys are very skilled in being able to pass in the NHL. So it's a very different game. In the AHL, it's a little more structured. Still, you're going to get some high-risk passes. You're going to get some bunching of players at times where you may not see that so much in NHL. The CHL, it's funny. You think maybe it would be down another level on those things. And it's really not. I mean, I've always found the pace of the CHL to be the quickest of any of them. There's a lot of run and gun. There's a lot of guys who, they aren't necessarily looking to make a pretty pass. They want to bowl right through everybody and try and get speed on their side. And I don't, I think that's another style of play that's totally valid. So, at times I find it more interesting to watch CHL than anything, because it's just it just seems to be a much more higher pace, amped up game overall. So, but it seems to work down this level pretty well. And amazingly enough, you get some really good defense still on that. So, the style is different for sure. And honestly, if you get good teams in the CHL, I would look at the defensemen before I look at anyone, because if you have a good team that keeps goals under in this league and you've got good defensemen and good goaltending on that team, I would highly tout those players first.
Definitely. Yeah, especially since I would have to agree with Sibs there. I believe AHL is actually a slower paced game compared to the CHL.
Agreed.
Because they're moving the puck more, but they're not running up and down the ice. Right. They're keeping puck possession in their zone. And when it's in your defensive zone, I mean, you're doing the same thing. You're obviously trying to get the puck out, but they're not. They know how to cycle the puck. So, I mean, with that being said, is it, going back to my question about trying to run an AHL type of system in the CHL, would that be beneficial, or do you guys have to run a CHL system because that's the type of game you guys are playing?
Well, I mean, I have a lack of experience at this. I understand what you're saying, but I think, at the CHL level, from what I see, if I've got a group of 5 players, I have to start with what they're doing first, and then try to make small changes from there. And again, I don't have the experience you guys do at the AHL and the NHL level, but I think part of it, by the speed of the game, I think I meant more the decision-making process. It has to be a little quicker with a lot of the players in the CHL.
Right. Yeah, I noticed CHL, a lot of players, a lot of wingers particularly, they like to just carry the puck in instead of dumping it or give the quick pass to the center crossing the line.
And that's a great point. I think in the CHL too, as compared to the AHL or the NHL, the different type of plays that are being made in the AHL and the NHL are far greater than what we see in the CHL. Working the puck behind the net more, or if that gets shut down by the opposing team's defense, then starting to come out front and work the puck around to the point. And if that starts to get shut down, due to the wingers covering their point men, then working the puck back down along the boards and creating more offense. I think I see that more in the AHL than I do in the CHL. In the CHL, I think you put a line out on the ice and they've got 1, maybe 2 styles of attack, and that's about it. So to answer your question, I think it would be beneficial to develop more of an AHL style in the CHL. I think it's just a matter of developing more plays, really.
Yeah, and speaking on that, you got to make sure your wingers are covering your D-men when they're going down in the offensive zone, and even letting D-men carry the puck in. I've noticed in the CHL that a lot of the D-men, they like to do quick passes, but not smart passes, where in the AHL, they'll actually carry the puck into the zone and have their wingers cover for them. T-Sibs, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that's what happens, and but again, it's still not as well polished as what you would see in the NHL. That still happens on occasion where a defenseman will carry in and the forward does not recognize it and pick up and drop back. So it's the AHL is sort of like wanting to run a more strict system like the NHL, but not always everyone's on board with it.
Right.
CHL, again, going back to how you guys have to manage, how much time, a lot of times you're not getting repeat players to work with. So you're getting almost a whole new roster every season. And you've got TC guys who, again, like we mentioned before, how well versed can they, how quickly up to speed can they get with how you guys want to play? So again, I think for the CHL, while it might be advantageous to do something that's more of an AHL style, how much time do you have to be able to teach your guys that? How what's their availability? And with the TC players, there's really not much you can do. I think you gotta have to keep it simple for the CHL. I just think because of the amount of time or the lack of amount of time that you guys get to get ready for the season, there's only so much you can do, and you have to keep it simple.
Right.
Yeah, it's I've just been looking at a lot of rosters, and again, I think if you could take advantage of the quality of guys who are out there who have played in these leagues before, and you can use their experience and maybe be able to get them to help you with the rest of your roster. I think that's where a veteran player could be useful.
Right. Going back to the TC veterans, yeah.
Yeah.
Right now we're gonna have NBA join us. He's got a couple. He did a couple questions and answers with some of the GMs that he wants to talk about real quick. NBA, you here?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so I talked with the Titans owner, which is Noble, and some of the questions I asked him was if he had any returning players, and he has who was his GM last year but returned as just a roster player now is AGM, is Trap God.
Okay.
And he also brought back M16 Impregnant. And last year was his first year of ownership, and he thought he did well. They swept their opponent in the first round of the playoffs last season, and then they were taken out in round 2. And he thinks that he doesn't have one single best player on his team. He thinks it's his whole team together. I think that I personally think he had a strong team, and he thinks he did the best he could in bidding, and he's happy with who we got. And then I talked to was I did 1 second. I did the Huskies, which Kick-Ass owns. It's his first season owning. He said kind of the similar things to about how we did in bidding. He thinks his team looks well. There was a little things that he had to fix during preseason, but he has no returning players where he is a new owner, and I think as he said, both of those teams will do well. The other team that I'll talk about will be my team, which is the Ramparts. We've ran into a few issues. We had a couple of guys called up, and that afterwards, which is rough for before the actual season even starts. We got one of our guys called up that we were going to call up to roster, but he got called up to AHL before we could. But the strongest point of our team would be our defense. We're lacking right now. Well, it's not so much as there's a couple of our guys that it's like a situation where we just need to figure out who works well with each other at this point before the season starts tonight. But me, my owner, and AGM, we all think definitely for sure our best part would be we spent well in bidding on our defense and on our goaltending.
That's always key. You got plenty of wingers and plenty of forwards that can score the puck. You need someone.
The people to hold us back.
Exactly.
Yeah. that's definitely something that's going to be interesting. Is going to be how the first week goes, because we got some lines together, but we're.
So, how did you guys do your scouting games?
Well, I did most of the scouting games. We did a couple on the website, and then we made after 2 or 3 of them on the website. We just gathered those guys that were in there. We posted some more, but we put them into like a PSN scouting chat, and we streamed our games. And a lot of the guys that we scouted are most of the guys that we ended up bidding on, and all the guys that we ended up scouting on ended up going on a team anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Half of them we didn't even think they were good, but we didn't know where they were going. They knew where they were going, so
right.
Just told them before that we hope that they aren't TC'd or something, because they're all good players. It was very good scouting this year. I found.
Is this your first year as management?
First year in LG, yes.
Okay. So I've already asked Mike and Savage, how do you scout new players? How do you bid on new players with no stats? Do you do that strictly from scouting, or
I find
you know friends that signed up, or how do you do it?
Well, as I can tell you right now, I know one guy that stand out a lot in our scouting games. It was both of our goaltenders.
Okay.
Which one was Mike and Mel, and then the other one is Omega. And 2 reasons why we ended up actually getting those 2 goalies is because they worked out positioning, and then with the way they always trusted. What helped us with picking them was they were our goalies that had faith in the defense, and they weren't going to try and cheat over to one side because he didn't trust that the defenseman was going to be there.
Right.
And then also, which I've definitely found the hardest people to bid on would definitely be people who have no stats, because you don't know if we're in scouting games, if they show how they play, but then I find always, even for me, is going into a league game is a lot different than or a drop in or any of that, because there's a lot more pressure on you than in one of those.
Right.
Then we have also a forward, and a lot of our guys, actually, a couple of them don't have any stats, or they didn't get bid on in the AHL, and we knew them, so we got them.
Okay.
And we did a couple of trades for guys that weren't working out with the style that we were trying to run this season. But one of them that plays well is it was an easy discussion, but we thought he was going to go for a lot more. It was Ant G. We thought because he knows a lot of the owners from playing different leagues.
Right.
So we thought he was going to cost more than he did, but we ended up getting him for a good deal of only $1 million. And he played well the games that we've played with him. And I think overall our team, we have a couple of new guys, and even through trades that we've done this morning and that, but we make sure all of our guys are welcome. We're working with our TCs, keeping them active, and we're just trying to get everybody involved all at once.
Right.
Yeah, definitely new people are the hardest to find to even get on a team, because
definitely, yeah.
I don't know if they're...
For your guys' scouting games, do you guys typically run just 6 and then do like a drop, or do you guys do like 6v6, get 12 of you guys that you're scouting?
6v6, and then there was once that we played against another team that was doing scouting. We would do that a couple times. Like we played against Atno a couple of times when we were doing scouting. I would organize that up, and I would play against Josh Hilly's team, which he's the owner of them.
Right. Now, do you think it's beneficial playing against those guys, or what? How do you set those up? for these new owners?
Josh was also a new owner, and had at the beginning we all helped each other. Like, I didn't know if I was going to end up getting a management spot, and then I ended up going with the Ramparts and all that. But just more like I played a lot with him because I was on the same team with him in FB League, like Facebook League, and he wanted to help me out to scout guys, and he wanted to scout out guys, and we both we would always try and, like, at least once a week before the bidding, we were trying to help each other out we would see each side, and then both suggestions of who would work with, because we know both the way our styles are. So we kind of point each other of this is who would work well.
Right. Now, do you think that's beneficial playing a scouting game against an LG team?
It can go good, and then it could backfire on you and the guys that you end up liking in there. You could end up not getting because they end up going with them. But me and Josh, we worked together, and all the guys that were from there.
Right.
And then we also made some agreements because we wanted certain players with each other. So we agreed we'll scout with them. We knew who they were before the season, and that we had an idea in case because I also tried to get ownership, but I didn't get it this season. They said it would be better for me to do try and get a management position first.
Right.
To see if I like how management is in LG, because it is a lot different from other leagues.
Right.
But
now,
it can work.
Go ahead.
It can work well, but it can. I've seen it go bad for other owners.
Now, some other questions we asked Mike and Savage earlier. This season, brand new for CHL is position lock. Now, what's your take on position lock for the CHL? Do you think it's necessary, or do you think that people should be able to play wherever?
I actually kind of like it because I found last season there was a lot of guys that would sign that they were good enough to play up in AHL or NHL, but they would sign up for a position that they knew they weren't good at, so then they wouldn't get bid on, so they would be able to play whatever position they were in CHL, and then they would just everybody knew they had the talent to go do that, but you couldn't change your position. But CHL, you could play wherever you wanted.
Right. Now, do you think that someone signed up, or someone's good at a forward position, but he, for whatever reason, wants to go and play D? Do you think that's good for the CHL, since it is kind of like a training league, pretty much?
Well, if that's the position he's going to play, but I kind of found unfair for those guys who would say their status was goalie, and then they go up and play center and get all these crazy points when they know they should be in AHL.
Right.
And stuff like that. Because it kind of just it ruins the fun for the guys who not necessarily aren't as great as them, but don't play the same way as them, or haven't been playing the game as long, so they don't have the same skill that those players have.
Right. Now, is that something where you as management would be able to, I guess, not allow that player to play what position he wants to play?
Oh, but then there's
signed up.
No, it's kind of if that's the position where they feel most comfortable, it's not fair to say that they can't play it. But I think, especially where there's position lock, with those guys actually trying to decide what position they want to play, I think it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes.
Okay.
If they're actually that position, or if they're going to make the move and make the position that they know they're supposed to play next season and see how it goes. But I think it's definitely going to be a trial and error this season, where it is the first season, especially with the contracts and position lock, which is interesting, but I know how it feels not being able to play whatever position, because I was on the Broncos last season and I was center, but I ended up finishing in goalie, so it's different. What management, I could play any position, but it's I can see where it's hard for those guys who want to play other positions, but where their primary position is yet, because
Right.
I haven't tried everywhere. So I find it's definitely got to try every position kind of first before you know what you're best at.
All right, yeah, definitely. All right, one last question for you. Where do you guys see you guys placing in the queue? And who's the biggest threat in the queue, do you think?
I think we'll probably definitely end at least most likely top 10. I think the most threat, especially for us, because they know how a lot of the guys on our team play, would probably be the Eagles or Gatineau, because a lot of them know most of the guys on our team and know how they play. So it's going to be interesting to play against them.
Right. Who do you think is going to win the queue?
Now it's hard to say. There's a lot of the guys who I think they could have brilliant teams by the end of the season.
Right.
It's just right now I'd probably say it's anybody at this point, but it will be a lot easier after a couple of the weeks through. But
definitely,
I think guys who have chances, guys who really take the time to invest in their players and take the time to like set up who they want with who, and guys.
Right. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up with that. Thanks for joining in for LGCHL PSN Media.
Thanks for the invite, boys.
Thanks for inviting me, Mike.
Everybody.
Yep.
Good luck this season.
Good luck.